Hello friends, and welcome to the Storyteller's Guide on Gilding Light, where we take adventure storytelling to the next level. Thanks to our sponsors, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms and World Anvil. When there's a whole world to explore, the real treasure can be in taking the scenic route, aka the side quest. In today's episode, we talk about the finesse of adding side quest and ways to improvise so your characters think you had this planned all along. I'm Satine Phoenix, your story guide for today's Storyteller's Guide episode called Side Questing Like a Boss. For those who don't know, let's break it down. Like in video games, a side quest is a short adventure your party can go on that's adjacent to the overall storyline. Sometimes it's the thread they follow that might help them in their story, and sometimes it has nothing to do with their story. Sometimes you, the writer, plans it, and sometimes you don't. You might be thinking to yourself, why on earth would my players want a side quest? Don't they love the story outline I've created? It's not always about that. Maybe they want a break from the grind. I've seen some games that are so long that maybe the players want their characters to have a little win so they don't feel overwhelmed with the weight of the world, since it's often their duty to save it. Sometimes they're stuck and don't know how to move forward and want to backtrack and follow another thread they think will get them where they need to go. A thread you didn't expect them to follow. Or maybe you did. In some instances, a writer will add side quests to a game to give the players opportunities for their characters to find magic items or clues that'll help beef them up in the world. In the Idle Champions video game, distractions don't take away from the game experience. They help the characters push forward in their adventure by rewarding them with gold, which they can spend in the game to level up. Yep, sometimes a side quest is just for experience points to help characters level up. And when you, the writer, spend so much time developing your world, filling your World Anvil campaign manager with maps, photos, articles, and fully written up characters, these wonders fill their imagination, and sometimes the players simply don't want the story to end. Whatever the reason, let's go into ways you can successfully weave in a side quest. In this instance, we're talking about multiple session D&D games. Please share in the comments section how you integrate side quests or your ideas on how to do a side quest in a one-shot. I would truly love to know. In my stories, I like everything to relate to the bigger picture. In a small town, everyone knows each other and has some kind of relationship, friend or otherwise, over their lifespan. In a larger town, you're probably introducing people from similar social circles or maybe only a couple different social circles. This funnels the possibilities of wandering off way down. I'll toss in a thread that's linked to a character who has an experience with another character in the story. This gives insight into the NPCs and the world they live in. An NPC might come across quiet and reserved, but the characters, through the side quest, find the original NPC is hiding a tragic or terrifying backstory, only found by doing the side quest. Let the world around the characters define the characters. What you see isn't always what you get. Reward the players for their curiosity and encourage them to explore the world, for they help breathe life into it. Things can't always be as hard as they seem. As a game master, sometimes your players aren't progressing the way you expected, and you want to give them a nudge. With a side quest and a little exploration, you can offer the party items to move forward. If you do this, make sure you have a why for the item to be where it is, and weave its history into the story. Perhaps this has all happened before, / written in a prophecy, and this item will do the trick because it already has. Or the item itself has history with one of the NPCs affecting the way they respond when seeing it, like it wields a knowing they don't want out in the world. I suggest in whatever kind of story and side quest you're writing, link them. Make them matter to the world, and the players will become more engaged with the story because they believe they've uncovered these truths about the world. Then there's the dark and dirty part of a side quest. It's taking far too long. It's becoming the actual story. Well, reel it in. You can give them a time constraint like, you have 2 hours, and then use a visible timer to express that 2 hours. You have a day or two. Then narrate the passage of time either intuitively or by scheduling it into your game session. The world keeps moving. Should your side quest go too long, you can make them aware of the consequences of lingering by introducing world events that directly affect the area they're in. In World Anvil, you can create a timeline so you aren't just making things up on the spot. We can assume why the group would want a side quest all day. So instead, I'm going to discuss the most powerful writer's tool. Listening. That's right, listening. I say it all the time because it's my favorite. Listening mixed with improvising, not improv acting, will allow you to adjust your original plan and offer other elements in your story, like a side quest you didn't expect to add in. The first thing I do is listen to the group. I pay attention to those who are more vocal and who aren't as vocal equally. I listen to what they are saying and what they're not saying. I look at their energy levels over time, their quickness to respond. I listen to their actions. I'm paying attention to everything each one of them are doing at all times, because in my games, these adventures are for them. It's not an easy skill, but over time I've become more sensitive, and through practice and empathy, you can hone this skill too. The players are the most important element to me, and their group buy-in fills me with delightful electricity. To improvise during a game shouldn't be as scary as it seems. Improvising a side quest on the spot can be really fun. It's storytelling broken down in a very simple form. Beginning, middle, and end. Look for element, find element, acquire element, and return with element. Or not, and that's a cool story too. Element equaling clue, item, or being. So, when you are quickly writing down the who, what, wheres of it all, don't overthink it. Practice with the simplicity of answering these questions. What are they looking for? What do they find when they look? How far do they have to go to get what they want? What obstacle do they have to overcome to acquire what they want? Do they get what they want? What are the options they have to return with? What do they return with? For creatures and relationships, what role do they play to a linked NPC? Parent, sibling, partner, ex-partner, best friend, nemesis, roommate, neighbor, admirer, peer, boss, underling? And are they loved, liked, appreciated, looked down on, taken advantage of, offered kindnesses, bullied, hated, etc.? Come up with your own quick chart and add it to the comments and share with the class, because we are stronger game masters and writers by learning from one another. Once you get all this written down, it's time to work on confidence, which will help you improvise your story on the spot. Don't let your players see you frantically writing things down. Unless that's your shtick, then cool, roll with it. But smile, because you know whatever happens next is going to either affect the story and or be hilarious. Work on that poker face and they'll think you planned this all along. Practice patience. If you aren't good at coming up with ideas on the fly, be patient with yourself. Don't rush it. Send them shopping or go on a break to give yourself the time you need. And lastly, ask them. Simply ask them. In the game 10 Candles, I learned that I, the game master, have permission to let the players build the world with me. Ask the players questions about what they're looking for and where they might look and why. Often, with a super low skill DC or group average roll, you can let them feel like their idea was in fact the real idea all along, and their rolls allowed them to find the answer. Let them tell you what they want. You can say yes and or no but, which shows how fun group storytelling can be. This lets up the stress on your end and shows you have the confidence that everything's going to end up okay. I mean, even a TPK can be fun because of the story and the journey everyone went through to get there. For those who want to be prepared and build confidence, make charts of possibilities. Try to keep it to percentile rolls or less, or you might lose track of all the tables and variables and confuse yourself. You can organize all this on your World Anvil campaign manager. Over time, you'll know what table to use for what situation. Being prepared and knowing your world is key to improvising. As you can see, this is something I am very passionate about, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts about side quests and improvising, not improv. Leave a comment below and or join us in the Gilding Light Discord channel so we can discuss all of this further. In the meantime, let's discuss all of this with our special guest and begin our quest here on the Storyteller's Guide after these short videos.
Hi, I'm Benwin Bronzebottom, celebrity dwarf and video game enthusiast, and this is my sidekick, Crowy.
Hello.
We're here to tell you about Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, a Dungeons & Dragons-based strategy management game from Codename Entertainment. They're Canadian, so you know it's good.
Let's talk about the game. Did you ever play Cookie Clicker?
Of course not.
This game is a management game like that, but with far more emphasis on strategy. And with a flavoring of D&D's lore and legendary heroes, you can unlock your favorite champions like Farida from Aaron M. Evans' Brimstone Angels saga, Minskin Boo from Baldur's Gate, and the fourth and final member of Acquisitions Incorporated the C-Team, Amy Falcone's Walnut Dongras.
The K is silent.
Create the best adventuring party possible based on the formation options, your character's ability, and the obstacles and enemies you face.
Or you just randomly click on things like I do and hope for the best.
You can click on enemies to assist your champions, or you can set them up and walk away and let them do their thing. It's entirely up to you.
I'm playing on the toilet right now.
Why wouldn't you be? Idle Champions is available on all your favorite gaming platforms, including tablets, for the low, low price of free. So download it now.
End with joke.
You're not supposed to read
It says end with joke.
No, we're supposed to come up with a joke to go with where it says end with joke.
I don't know. End with joke is pretty funny.
Wait, on three. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
End with joke. I think it's funny. It's very funny.
One of the biggest problems that storytellers face while in session is that when you're searching through your notes and books, you're breaking the flow of the game. World Anvil allows you to manage your lore, the stat blocks of your PCs, NPCs, and monsters, your music, handouts, and so much more from a single screen. Fill your maps with lore and bring your worlds to life by connecting locations, NPCs, races, and monsters to the lands of your world with interactive maps. Track the history of your world, the adventures of your party, and all your major NPCs with timelines. World Anvil is not just for D&D 5e, it supports any other game you want, since you can build stat blocks in any system you're running and play your campaign in it, as every proper homebrew tool should aim to do. Oh, and you can make your own system too. Create an account now at worldanvil.com and join the World Builders Guild. Use the code Storyteller for a whopping up to 30% off Master and Grandmaster memberships. That's worldanvil.com. Hi everyone, welcome back to Storyteller's Guide here on Gilding Light. Are you ready to meet our guest? They're going to create an intermediate level adventure. So here we are. We have Vince Caso, actor, writer, as seen on Geek and Sundry and The Guild. Also we have Maude Garrett, creator of Fungeons and Flagons and Heat Bomb. Thank you so much for being here, both of you.
This is gonna be great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I know all about you guys. Why don't we tell the audience who you are? How long have you been storytelling or game mastering? And what kind of games or stories do you tell?
Sure, you want to go ahead? Oh my God, you want to do this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We're in sync!
You both win. It's
Okay.
going to be a great day.
You won. Take it over.
Alrighty, hi, Maude here. I first played Dungeons & Dragons back, I think, in 2011 when I sat in my brother's campaign and watched, because I was like so fascinated by it all. Because I remember growing up on the cartoon series and I loved that side of things and I was a big video gamer. And of course, this campaign had been running for about 3 years and everyone died. Like complete deaths when I sat there. And I saw grown men cry. I know, I was totally the bad luck charm. They ran into a black dragon in the swamp and acid damage, yeah, they all died. And I was like, my turn. So I started playing on the 4th edition actually, and then moved into 5th edition, and I'm in 2 different groups at the moment. But I remember the first time I played and I discovered that my imagination was very much kind of locked down by rules. I was a ranger. I wanted to, do a backflip off the tree and shoot 5 arrows into the goblins' heads. And I was told I could only run to the tree and that was it. And so I created a very, very beginner, I guess, version of Dungeons & Dragons called Fungeons and Flagons, where basically it's all about improv and storytelling and the rules don't matter. So if you can dream it, you can do it, but if you roll high enough. So the more extreme it is, the more of a dire consequence if you don't roll high enough to achieve it. Nice. Yeah, there's been a lot of death. And a lot of drinking. I make the Flagons part true.
As you do.
Which I shouldn't. But yeah, that's just what I do on the side. What about you?
Well, yeah. So actually, I'm kind of my history in D&D is a little bit kind of backwards as far as storytelling goes because I only started playing D&D for the first time last year, towards the end of last year.
Welcome.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But I've been writing for most of my life. I've been writing for TV for the last 7-8 years. and short form fiction longer than that. So I come from a mostly storytelling background, and then got into D&D because of that aspect that really appealed to me. And as of now, I'm playing in like 2 or 3 campaigns. I'm starting one as a DM now.
Hey.
And actually Kaylee's in. And as part of that, I'm actually writing a campaign setting in a set of 3 modules that I intend to be publishing as well. So really going at it hard from the story angle. And that's kind of the way that I DM, that I play, is I love the narrative aspect. I love improv. I love being able to think of things on the fly because that's part of the game, but it's all about like crafting that story. And that's kind of where I come from.
Okay.
So this is going to be really fun because we've got all those different aspects. The parameters for today's intermediate level adventure. It's a level 8, however many characters you want. It's a 2 to 3 hour. If you want to push it to 4, we can. Now, this is going to be different than anything else we've ever done. I want you to design a game that allows both the game master or storyteller and the players to improvise. I want you to allow for side quests and then also figure out how to get them back on track. So this is going to be totally different than anything we've done. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Are you ready to
Yeah.
create this improv-based story adventure?
I'm nervous AF, I'll be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's do this.
No pressure.
Clearly.
All the pressure. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Where do we begin?
Alrighty, so an idea that I was throwing around,
Go for
I
it.
want to do something quite different. I've got to figure out how to have improv elements in them. Maybe they start and they make the characters on the spot, which is what we do for Fungeons and Flagons, using a series of questions to sort of like build their character on the fly. But I was thinking, what do you think about this one? There is a competition at the castle where I'm totally borrowing this off one of my favorite books, but that's the best way to do things. I like to
Don't
borrow.
admit that.
Oops.
Just take it.
I'm taking. Oh,
Great artist steal.
Am I a good thief? That's a 3. No, I'm not a good thief.
Inspiration.
Where basically it's a competition to find the strongest person in the lands. And so that's where I think we could have probably 6 characters and they build their character on the spot. Why are you so tough? What is your skill set? Where do you excel? What are your weaknesses? What's your goal? Why are you in this competition?
Level 8 is really tough too, so this will be really fun.
Yeah.
And they're level 8, so it's like, they actually have some ability.
Yeah, they're at this tournament for a reason. They all have some reason to be here, and they reasonably could each be competing in it.
Yeah.
They got some strength and moxie already to them.
That's it. But the weakness is the best part as well, because you'd build a series of challenges that will highlight some strengths, but also really hone in on some people's weaknesses as well.
Is this PvP? Or
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The players all against each other.
Well, not necessarily fighting each other straight off, but I think some of
Competition.
some of the challenges that they presented with, you've got problem solving, you have a strength feat, whoever can hit the arrow, on bullseye 5 times in a row kind of deal. So we could have fun with that.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I want to really have it character driven though. If that makes sense. Yeah, who's competitive, who's nice, the healer, like if they just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does the story take place?
Yeah, so the question we now have is how do we bring all these players who are at this tournament competing against each other into one party and propel a story from that point forward?
Yeah.
So let's say if they all compete, they could either all wind up in placements along with each other, and people who place within this top category here would then move on to achieve or go on to something else, either a challenge or they would attain something that then propel the story forward. So let's see what that would be.
So creating the adventuring group by doing the competition, the first part of the competition.
The tournament kind of forms the party, essentially.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people rock up, that's an Australian term.
They rock up.
But they rock up. And it's like, who are you? And they're like, well, we can do it right now. Can we do it right now?
Let's
just for
do
one
it.
character?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so you show up. What's your name?
Okay, my name is Kelsis. Kelsis, no last name. My background is magical, but I've taken up the sword recently in an attempt to, because the world really caters less toward magic and more toward the ability of brawn and sheer, physical power. I don't think that's fair. And I think that I want to use my magic to try and accentuate my physicality and show that I can win on those mental merits instead.
What is your race and class?
I am a tiefling.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a tiefling, and I'm a paladin.
Yep. All right.
Wow.
What is your reputation? What are you renowned for?
That's a fine question. I'm most well known for infamy that is not of my own doing. I'm infamous for the, so I came from this village leagues away. I'm not originally from this country, actually, but stories spread behind me as I was accused of being the lead inquisitor for this movement that was a sort of religious inquisition that ended up destroying an entire village. I, however, was not the one who instigated it. In fact, I tried to avert it, but it all got pinned on me. I had to flee the country and wound up here instead.
Is that because it was your twin brother instead?
It is now.
Right, so you have it out for your twin brother.
I have it out for my twin brother, who, you know, I originally came to this country because I heard he might have set up shop somewhere in here trying to flee the same persecution that was pinned on me, because we look the same. You know, it makes sense that we're both now being chased by the same sorts of people, and I want to sort of clear my name by showing it was him all along.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
How about you? Who are you?
Morgana.
Nailed it.
I borrowed. Morgana, the assassin.
Morgana the assassin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
She's a wood elf.
Wood elf.
She is multi-class. She is not only
word
an
up.
assassin, but she's an arcane archer.
Nice.
Yeah. So she basically is like the Robin Hood, I guess. She rules the forest. Cool. She heard there's a competition, and the prize money was too good to ignore. And she really thinks she's in with a fighting chance, because not only is she the best archer in the lands, but she also there's a plague that's affecting the forest, and they need to rescue it. So she has a really tough exterior. And doesn't want anyone to know that she's actually really sweet with good intentions. So she's a fraudulent, chaotic evil.
Oh, word up. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
All right, so now let's get to the story.
Yeah.
We've got fun characters. We have the first part. Sounds like that's where we do a lot. It's like level 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Level 1 training wheels for the adventure. Everyone sees what they're capable of. And this is good because if you have strangers playing together, it establishes who people are and what they can do. And then that group forms, but does that mean the other groups form that they have to compete against for the next level?
So what if we have it like this? So we have this tournament that sort of establishes the party at the end of the day, right? This obviously is being done for a purpose. What if it's not only for prize money, but to find the most skilled fighters and, you know, combatants in the land to then party up and go conquer something that needs conquering.
Or
to fight off something needs fighting.
pivot.
Or
Because what I like doing is you see the story arc, and then at the cusp, the crux of the story, there's the twist, right?
Yeah.
I love my twist. And I think in this case, the king is trying to look for the strongest person to conduct experiments on.
Okay. So all the while, you feel like you're actually on an adventure with this party to do some greater good. But in the background, the king has been pulling the strings to manipulate you, to sort of use you as a guinea pig for some more sinister purpose.
And I think he's got his eye on the tiefling because it's you know,
I mean,
it's
clearly.
black magic. Wants the devil involved himself.
Yeah, I need that infernal-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the improv for how you do the games. Like 4 tests.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, obviously strength, skill, brains, and I don't know, the power of deduction. Maybe there's like a riddle with potions, and if you drink the wrong one, you die.
Yeah, because it could also be a social
way to
aspect.
weed them out.
A charismatic aspect as well.
Oh, okay.
I mean, playing to the crowd is also part of a tournament. You have to also be a crowd favorite.
Yeah. What if no one likes you? If you're a bad sport, and they're not rooting
That's the
for
worst
you?
thing.
Oh.
So part of this adventure is creating the rules for the games.
Yeah.
So we'll have 4 games in this first part of the tournament.
Tasks, yeah.
4 tasks. You've got an NPC, which is probably the MC,
Yep.
right? So who is that person?
The Jeffrey Chaucer type there?
Yes,
Nice tail.
yes, that's my favorite. Oh my gosh, I want to actually just pluck him
All right,
out
where
from a
he's
nice
plucked.
tail. Yeah, thank you so much.
There we go. And personality, yes. I think it's a fantastic choice.
And then you have the king, because everyone's doing this so the king can see them, and and they get all the accolades and the cheers from the audience.
Yeah.
So the eyes are on the king. The king has eyes on everything.
Yes.
The king has their brawn, right, protecting the king,
Yep.
which also can be introduced and weaved in throughout the story.
Love it.
Okay, so the people have been chosen. And what is this quest that they have to go on that they've been chosen for?
Okay.
First task.
So the first task of the group.
Yeah, the king is saying you have to do this thing.
Because you are the
So let me lay some groundwork here, and then we can pluck it apart.
Love it.
Because I have a thought here. So we can tie our backstories in together as well. Because the forests are dying, and that's a big motivation for you.
Yes, but I will never admit that.
She'd never tell. And I have this sort of extraterritorial religious conquest that I fled from.
Yeah.
We could also say that this is now moving into this country, or so we're being told. Part of that is that they are, as we're told, sowing disease and famine and destruction through the forests, through all the various neighboring and border territories of this country. We are essentially being sent to stop them. But there's the twist in there, in that the actual threat is not what you're being told, and that is in fact being engineered to some way by the king. So,
Smoke and mirrors.
yeah, a big improv aspect of this is also that now that we have the groundwork set where all of these sort of machinations tie back to the one NPC of the king, and that the actual end goal is kind of a false narrative, that all these side quests can branch off and tie back into the main plot by reason of the improv of the DM, just simply aligning it back with something the king is doing in the background, or something that's actually happening out on the frontier, on the forward lines of the battle, so to speak, that is or is not what we're told it is at the time.
We have the most different ways of thinking. It's so exciting to hear you actually. I can see you like starting the narrative, and you're like, I'm just like, no, let's just make it up. Let's just have fun. Let's be like death. My thing is as well, where it's like, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? I love exploiting those, especially to get that good character narrative. And it's like, well, you have to stay true to it. So if you say my weakness is like, I am petrified of all creatures that are smaller than a foot in length, all of them. And then but I'm really, really good at being in the forest. Makes no sense. Work with me here.
Just kill a squirrel.
There's a hunting task. So you have to go into the forest and you have to find a very rare creature and then capture it or kill it or before it kills you. And the thing is, it could have, I would make it because I'm sadistic, a bunch of, children, offspring that are all flushing around. So this person's just like, it has its strength and weakness at the same time. So for you as well, it's like, I'd kind of want to delve into your strengths and weaknesses again.
Yeah, so the primary weakness of my character in this example would be that he would do and has been doing anything that he possibly needs to prevent his past being discovered.
Subterfuge then?
Yeah, so one element that I love exploring narratively is the idea of the moral gray area, and the fact that sometimes you have to do overtly evil things for a greater good, or the reverse. And that sometimes the thing you think that you're doing that is good ends up being for an evil cause.
Yes.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, all that kind of stuff. And so he's done all these things that are objectively on the darker side, but to prevent him being discovered, or to prevent the forward movement of this Inquisition that he feels is a worse outcome than what he's doing. So he has that moral gray kind of idea, but he feels that he's like a neutral good, kind of.
I've had it backfire before. My last Dungeons and Flagons campaign, there was basically a curse on all the lands where it would like nullify a lot of emotion. So there was no war, but there was no love. And so it was just this sort of like blanket
equilibrium.
kind of, exactly. And so it's like, well, do you want to lift the curse? The problem is, to do that, they had to kill this giant. The giant was played by Matt Mercer. He convinced the adventurers, he was so good at portraying the other side of this moral dilemma that they were willing to not slay him and have the whole lands like have their choice taken away from them than to kill one giant and save the
That's
land.
hysterical.
And I was just like, stop being so good, please. But yeah, they anyway.
So we got something good here, and I like the sort of interplay here because you do have like the more improv heavy, see what happens in the moment mindset. I'm more about like trying to paint the broad strokes of the overall tapestry of story, and you need both to tell a good story. You need to have the structure that works, not the railroad, but the overall path, and then you need to be able to adapt to the things that should change as you walk that path.
Yep.
So let's establish the foundation of this, just so that we can explain where specifically improv can blossom.
Absolutely.
So we've set the rules. We
Competition
have
throughout the
competition.
lands.
We have the king sends you out. Now, why the king sends you out could be linked to the characters, is what it sounds like. And this is the improv on the Game Master of the Storyteller.
Yep.
And then the front line, to get to the front lines, do they find out that it was a farce, or do they defeat something and then come back and then find out that they're being experimented on?
So I feel like it's actually a bit of both, because on the way there, you also have, like, during the journey, you have one of the greatest opportunities for these side quests and for these little, like, hiccups and bumps in the road that can then dramatically inform the story going forward. Whatever the DM had in mind at the beginning could also change completely based on what actions the players take in the interim. So one thing that I like to do personally is I will create a plot hook that I have no plan for. I make it up in the moment. I don't know what it has to do with. It just sounds bizarre and silly. And then I see what the players conclude that it means. Like, what do you think this is for? And then I'll literally weave that into the story. Oh, that was a good idea. It's true now the whole time. It's what I planned all along.
You're geniuses.
Yeah.
I like to manipulate the characters. So in this particular instance, I would want to know who was incredibly competitive and make them stand out and put them in positions where their competitiveness shows.
Like the players themselves.
Yeah. I think some of them would form maybe allegiances and alliances, and so if it is a competition.
With each other?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, saucy.
But if they're now kind of like bonding and they have like some sort of friendship, it's like, is the competition going to affect that? And what are their actions going to take? So I like to be the puppet master with all of their emotions and their drives.
Yeah.
So we have that they have to go out, fight the thing, come back.
Let's say there's multiple fronts.
Okay.
So this is where the element of choice and improv comes in, I think, narratively speaking, is that there's more than one place they could go right now. There's more than one place where the threats are real. Each character, possibly even by reason of their backstory, gives the DM a piece of information, like here's a background threat. And each one is now part of the overall threat represented, and the players could each go as a group to one of these different places. But they kind of have to choose. And the story evolves dramatically based on what choice they make.
Yeah.
So they could go to the forests. They could go to the outlying villages. And we all want our own outcome in a sense.
But the problem is if you go to the forest and you actually uncover my secret and you learn my truth, and that's what I'm hiding. So it's like, for me, it's that huge dilemma where it's like, I really, I want to win and I want the forest because I'll win the task, but then you'll see that this, my truth will come out and then that'll affect everything and then my game is up, sort of deal.
So there could be reasonably as many options in terms of that first journey as there are players. And that then changes the return, that then changes what happens at the other points. If you go to the forest instead of the villages may burn down. Yeah. The story evolves based on that, and then that informs the end game.
All right, let's set that up. Yeah. So let's give them a couple different options, because if you go to the village, there are more NPCs. Yep. So, and we don't have to come up with those NPCs, but maybe why don't we give them ideas on how they can quick improv NPCs there? Quick improv, finding out information in the forest?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, one thing that I immediately suggest would be, and this is one thing that I do as much as I can at the table as well, is I'm informed heavily by character backstories. And I've actually found character backstories to help me write my plot for the overall game, even if it's like a module that we're talking about where it's, it relies a little bit more on a railroad. In this case, if one PC has an association with the village, because that's how we're structuring it right now, let their backstory and the culture of their character now inform the way that village is. Where do they come from? How do they speak? What are their family ties, if they know that, if they're willing to divulge any of that? And then extrapolate from that what it makes sense a person like that would come from in terms of a sort of microcosm of society.
What was that, you think?
We're going deep here, yeah.
What if, so in your instance, let's say you're city-based, and maybe there's things going down and there's a riot happening, but it's led by your brother.
Yeah, that's perfect. Great. So a DM takes that. I have an evil twin brother, and I'm from X, Y, and Z place. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, if we're going back to this place, let's work in your intrigue and your dramatic plot. If you go there, you encounter this thing that is drawn from your story.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Nice. And that's beautiful improv, and the players won't even know that you weren't thinking of that all along.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about it is to not reveal that. Everything was pre-planned. Everything was crafted meticulously.
As a DM, it has to look like you've had everything planned.
Absolutely.
You cannot over planning is the worst thing you can do as a DM as well. So it's like, oh goodness, we have to be really good liars.
All acting and improv is essentially lying. So yeah, totally.
But I believe it.
As you should, because we lie really well.
Yeah.
I sleep well at night.
Okay, so they go out, they find information, and this information leads them back to the king.
Right. So here's a thought. then they choose which place they wind up, and they engage in the story at that point.
Yep.
There needs to be a revelation at any one place they choose that then leads to the next broad stage of the story. It wouldn't necessarily, though, have to be straight back to the king. Although, wait, this is a one-shot, right?
Yes.
In that case, yes. Straight back to the king.
And that's the point, right? Is to let them go on their tangents and then get them back on the road.
Yeah, so I like the fact that we've established sort of like the castle as the home base.
Yeah.
So every time you come back there, maybe supplies are there. There's
Give them a nice room.
Yeah, but they have to come back to this centric part. I guess it depends what the task is.
A winner's tower.
Oh, I like
A winner's tower?
See, again, that's the manipulation thing where it's like the person who wins and everyone else is starting to resent them because they're doing well in the competition. And you
All of our beds are in one room, though. It's weird. It's like a 6-tall bunk bed, just stacked.
But you've got really beautiful, like those long mosquito nets that also have like drapes and like big rope.
But I love the way that the king could actually start playing favorites in that regard, and I like the fact that you separate the winner from the losers and you build up that psyche to make it more of like a rife competition. And the competition is also going to be accentuated if there are dire consequences, like, well, you chose to do the quest in the village, the forest is burning down, and then you're like, oh my god, this stopped being competition and this started being life and death. Love that.
And then especially once you're at the place you choose, and then on the way back, you then get the intel as to the consequences for having not gone to the other places.
Yeah.
And things start going south. But intermixed in that, an important point of improv for the DM as well here, is that you must not only communicate the fact that these consequences happened, but they must also in some small way inform or give a hint to the background machinations that are actually going on. This implication that, okay, great, this consequence that we kind of assumed might happen, did happen, but maybe a bit differently than we expected, because now we're being led on to believe there's more happening here, and it's not just this Inquisition that's actually the antagonist.
Yeah.
This is being engineered from our side. Are we the baddies? Kind of a situation.
Okay, so then let's talk about the king. First, what is his name? What does he look like?
That's a damn fine question there.
It's obviously King Donnan. King Donnan.
King Donnan. King,
the Dawn.
Yeah, but
yes.
Donnan.
King Donnan.
Yeah. Donnan.
King Donnan South March. The royal family.
Yeah, 19th in his line. Right.
19th of his name.
Yep.
Okay.
They're
what is his
breeders.
demeanor?
He's ominous. Or do we make him friendly?
Very friendly. Very charismatic.
Ooh,
yeah.
narcissist.
Yes.
And he's totally on their side. Like this guy, oh my god, you'd never suspect him. Like he helps them out, he gives them resources, he seems compassionate and generous with people.
Well, but there are techniques though, that underlying manipulation that's happening there where he does play favorites.
Oh, absolutely,
it's like with good intentions.
Yeah.
But it makes, you make sure that there's like a discourse happening.
But that's the trick, is you're stabbing with a smile. Where, this guy is able to your face, say things that are objectively like totally reasonable and fair, but do end up turning people against each other.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put too much on the DM's lap in terms of like having to be meticulously manipulative in the moment, but you can get an idea. We've all met someone who's like that, really, like the passive aggressive, but totally objectively cool.
Yeah.
But who just makes you
super charming.
Yeah, you feel kind of sticky after. You're not entirely sure why.
Yes. It's subtle enough, but it leaves a mark. Yeah. I get it.
And it's fun at first because if you don't interact, like when you see the king on his throne, you just assume whatever it is people say. And then you get to meet him, like part of the way in.
Yeah.
And then more stuff is revealed, and then you meet him again. So what is this thing? What is the experiment, and what's it for?
Yeah, okay. Okay,
what does he want? What does he need?
He wants to conquer death because he's a narcissist. He doesn't ever want to die.
Okay. Word.
What do you reckon?
I like it. He wants to conquer death. He doesn't want to die. But we're tying it now into also this. We're saying also that he's possibly behind whatever this Inquisition actually is.
Yeah.
Perhaps it has a different purpose, but that's the name it's going under, and people are actually dying. Mm-hmm. So what if this whole thing is part of
people
one
and
great...
nature. He's controlling both facets here.
Yeah. So the whole thing could be one giant blood sacrifice he's trying to make on like a countrywide scale.
So it first was tested on the plants, because that's life.
Yeah.
And then it's tested on people.
Yeah.
And now it's tested on the strong.
Yeah, because the people, an average person just can't take it. They can't take the experiment, so they need the stronger person.
Here's the problem, though.
Yes.
Here's the trick: is it's not enough to stage this blood sacrifice on the popular level across the country, because you build up all of this power. You can siphon off all of this vital energy from the dying of ordinary people, but it has to go somewhere, which is why our heroes were assembled in the first place. Our heroes needed to go and stop this threat that had been accumulating all of this blood magic and blood power, so that they would bring it back to the king, unbeknownst to them, and he could take it from them in one final fight to
So
kill
with
them all.
that, can we actually double XP? Can they level up aggressively if that's the case?
Like
because they are
during the game?
because they are harnessing all of this blood magic and this, the power.
Yeah. And they wouldn't even know why.
No. And they just keep getting stronger and stronger.
They level up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I like it.
and then of course they can choose abilities that are more in line with where they are 2 hours in, which could be very different from the start of the game.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lawful goods could start becoming not so good.
You're so close to the end of this episode. Let's wrap it up. What happened? They
Okay,
go
great. So
out,
they come back to the castle then. They come back to the king.
Yep, there's a winning ceremony, you know, and Kelsis is crowned the winner.
What?
Yay!
I never win anything.
Because
you
King
guys.
Dornan has been favoriting you for some strange reason. I resent the hell out of you.
That's
now
fair.
because of that.
Most people do.
And I'm just like, I'm trying to do something for good, and I
Yeah.
can see that your motives are very, insular. It's not for, it doesn't benefit anyone but you.
No, very selfish.
Yeah, so rude. But I think that this will be the real test here. When we realize that something's wrong, are we going to come to your aid, or am I going to sit down with some popcorn?
I feel like here's one way that it could go. It could look like, and this is by design as well, because the king has been trying to play all of us against each other in a lot of ways. It could look like that only those of us who are perhaps less favorited by the group are the ones who are in the most immediate danger. But what is unbeknownst to all of us is that this is the fate that will befall us all very shortly.
Yeah.
And so either we make the choice to help the ones who are immediately victimized by it, or, and if we don't, then they, are disproportionately affected, and then the group that's left has to kind of fight the final threat, or we realize what's going on, band together, and go at the king as a group.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that.
We have to overcome those machinations and manipulations.
Yes.
In which case, there then should be some kind of investigative hint or NPC who is able to clue us into the fact that there's now bigger shit going on, and it's not this device situation we thought it was.
Who?
Well, it's
Who is it?
You're Geoffrey Chaucer, or it's the captain of the guard who's been protecting the king the whole time, and then realized that things weren't what he thought, and maybe he stumbled across information.
I like the idea of it being the tournament barker.
Yeah.
Like, what if it's this guy who
He's
actually
forced into it. He knows what's going on.
So it's that thing like, in Us, where it's like, everything's great and you're doing an act and then it's like, save me, help us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's the loudest one.
Yeah.
People will believe whatever he says.
I dig it. You know what? He could also be tied in. I'm just going crazy.
Let's do it.
He could also be tied into the plot more deeply, because if this blood magic situation has been going on for some time, the king's having to plan this for a long time. What if the Barker was somebody who was much closer to the king initially, who was perhaps even helping him to research the magic?
Sick child.
Nailed it.
Yep, good, next.
And who now has ingratiated himself back into this sort of royal court, but not as himself. Not as him or herself.
Thank you, yep. But it's, so they're an act as well, but they're a plant. So they're actually obtaining all of the data and then needing to have allies to see through his plan, because he's realized that he was on the wrong team the whole time.
So
Absolutely.
not only do they have to overcome the king and get past those guards, but perhaps save somebody?
Yeah,
Perhaps. I feel like more the Barker.
Or that's just the reason.
the Barker's child.
I feel more. Well, are we saying the Barker, this tournament Barker, has a child or is the child?
Has a child.
Has a child. Okay. So then, absolutely, we could play that angle where now. What if there's a choice? What if you could actually use the power of this blood magic for a good and not an evil?
So
instead
to
of
kill the king or to save the child.
Yes, okay, good. We'll have it be like this moral quandary at the end where either is objectively a positive choice, but you have to decide how big a view you want to take on society here.
This is fun.
The smaller good or the greater good? Sorry, guys.
If you have selfish intentions and I want to help as much as possible, we're gonna have very different arguments going in here.
And you'll have
But time
different
is not on the
outcomes.
side. Yeah.
Different
Absolutely.
outcomes.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story.
I'm stoked on it.
What's it called? What's the story called?
Well, yes, and. Zip zap.
It's the Liar's Legacy.
Why?
Because that's the thing that I thought of the first.
Yeah.
The fastest.
Okay.
The Liar's
I like the legacy. I like legacy.
Yeah, play with it.
Are we
Yeah.
jumping on it?
Yeah.
Okay, legacy,
The legacy of the lands.
lands,
Legacy of the
Lands or Lance?
Lands.
DZ.
Lance.
Legacy of the lands.
No.
One more. We have one more chance to name this adventure.
We're close. We're close. King Dornan.
Are we saying this is a finite number of players in this, or like it's a 4 to 6 player kind of a deal?
Give me 4 to 6.
Okay.
Because is it the first? I think this is the first in its name because he hasn't needed to do it before.
Look, you have it. It's in there somewhere.
Okay.
Tournament. I like tournament. I like alliteration though.
Okay, so legacy, the
That's why I'm with the L's.
legacy,
I like
the
the
tournament,
sound.
Yeah.
the legacy tournament.
Yeah,
Why
you
is
know
this
what I mean?
hard?
Names are literally the hardest part. Honestly.
Morgana, guys, come on.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
I kind of picked mine.
All right, that's what we're going with.
Liar's legacy.
Liar's legacy.
But, well, why?
Oh, a liar's legacy, and
Yeah.
then it's a tournament.
Because the bucket plays.
That's true.
Yep. Good.
Boom, done it.
We got the tie-in. There you go.
Thank you guys so much for creating Liar's Legacy. Why don't you share with everyone at home where they can find you on the internet?
Go ahead.
If you want to watch Dungeons and Flagons, the episodes are only half an hour long and there's only 10 episodes per time. And yes, we had Matt Mercer as our boss battle last time. That's on Geek Bomb. So just go to youtube.com/Geek Bomb, and I'm at Maude Garrett on all social media.
You can find me at Vince Caso on Twitter and Instagram, and see me quite frequently on Geek and Sundry. That's twitch.tv/Geek and Sundry, on We're Alive Frontier and Vampire the Masquerade LA by Night.
And I, as always, am Satine Phoenix. You can find me at Satine Phoenix on all of the things, and also on Gilding Light. Thank you so much to our sponsor, World Anvil, and our wonderful partners, Idle Champions. Till we meet again, dear storytellers.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the Storyteller's Guide here on Gilding Light. Please, in the comments, tell us how you use the hero's journey in your stories. Send us links to your questionnaires that you ask. Let's start the conversation and learn from each other. Thanks again. See you next time on the Storyteller's Guide.